Hello. E4. Who was white? Not me. D6. Pirc. D4. Grab the center. Well, you can. G6. Pirc. Prep for fianchetto. Knight F3. Develop your knight. Knights before bishops. That's a thing. Bishop G7. Successfully fianchettoed. Knight C3. Nice. Open. Got your knights out. Got the center pawns. Nice. Grab the center. Knight D7. I think I've left the Pirc and I've gone into something called the modern defense. After the couple times where I've messed up, putting the knight on F6 and then having E5 pushed against it, and then not handling it good, and then messing, sort of having a weird opening. I wanted a bit something else. Started going towards this thing called the hippo, I think. So yeah, knight D7. Bishop E3. Continue to develop your pieces. B6. Go for the double fianchet. Bishop B5. I don't like that bishop being there, so I decide to push it away, or so I thought would happen. I go A6 to push, and assuming a retreat was coming, I missed bishop C6, attacking the rook. And this is where I think maybe there's a move order thing that's important with the hippo, if that's what I choose to start doing. You gotta watch out for that. So I go rook B8. No choice but to get him out of danger. E5. It happened. E5 is out, but my knight's not there. What's E5 attacking? Bishop B7. Bishop takes B7. Rook takes B7. E takes D6. C takes D6. Take towards the center. Keep everything locked up tight. Queen D2. Bishop battery. Scary bishop battery of the dark squares from this point. E6. Making room. Even though the dark square bishop could come down, I had a plan to move my queen if needed. There's plenty of options, so a single queen attack of the bishop going to G5 wasn't horrible. Took me a while to think about it because, scary at first thought. But E6. Knight E4. Knight D to F6. Knight takes F6. Knight takes F6. Castles. Rook C7. Open file. C3. Protect D4. Queen C8. Battery on the open file, plus I'm protecting my H6 pawn. Bishop H6. And I castle. If I had taken, the queen would be down there, be a bit of a mess. I wanted to prevent my dark square bishop being taken off for a long time. But, well, I mean, once it was too late, once bishop h6 happened, the bishop was going to leave. And castling was the best way to defend, because then my king comes into the action. So, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, rook f to e1. d5. Knight e5. Knight e4. Queen d3. Now it's good that my queen is protecting h3 because his queen is now looking at it. And then I go f6. Pestering. All I did was pester his pieces and kept them off my side. I bet it was, I mean, I could see how it might be frustrating. Who can say? F6. And this is where he says, I'm tired of running. I'm going to counterattack. F3. Now both our knights are being looked at by pawns. However, I have this nice little combination that finally helps with my battery. My battery was locked up behind this nice pawn chain, but I was allowed the opportunity to go knight takes c3. Take that pawn. And he takes, to keep the pawns even, he takes knight takes g6. So I take his knight first. I go h takes g6, opening up the h file. And then he has to take back my knight. Bishop takes c3. But I got that battery. It's a good thing I made that battery. Rook takes c3, threatening the queen. Queen e2, making a battery of his own, I believe. If his rook's already there. Is his rook already there? Yeah, rook f to e1, yeah. My cleverness, my time advantage, I'll say more accurately, allowed me to find king f7, as opposed to protecting the pawn with pieces that would probably rather do other things. I protect the pawn with the king. And the queen is also. Queen, I put this queen on the right square. You know, I waited to know where to put my queen for as long as I could. Eventually I needed to move him to get away from all the dark square threats, you know, earlier on. he goes rook A to B1. Threaten the pawn. I go rook C6. Protecting the pawn. Adding defense to the E pawn. Allowing for my queen and rook, my rook that's on under the king, F8, just take advantage of the queen was gonna, go up a square to look at the dark square diagonal, and then my rook was gonna take the H file. I had some plans at this point. My pieces were active, and my position was solid. I kept it solid. And he ran out of time. I won because of a flag. Man, it might not seem like an exciting game from an outsider's perspective, but it was intense. Very intense. And it would have been so easy for me to mess this up. And this is why going to tournaments is an important experience, because the feeling you get, not only when you're winning or when you're up on time, and having a winning position does not mean you're going to win. And I caught myself through experience. I caught myself daydreaming about how I'm going to win this game. I say, hey, you're doing that thing where you're acting like you already won in your mind. I'm not dancing up and down. So you have to catch your brain and continue to calculate, because the end game, being up a pawn, is just being up a pawn. Of course, at high level chess, that's all you need. But at the blunder level, where I am, at mistake land, where piece games are won by missing tactics, having a pawn up is not a done deal. You got to stay sharp. So I managed to use my time effectively and come up with moves that made him have to think. At the whole time, it's White's obligation apparently to grab initiative and create, be the person who attacks. There's just this mantra or this feeling of when you're White. So as Black, you just set up. You just make a fort, make it indomitable, and let the guy or whoever think about how they're going to get in. And somehow, I didn't know I was going to win. I didn't know how it was going to go. But apparently it was difficult enough. I made enough of a challenge. I stayed away from mainline openings, the things that everyone works on. I just do something weird. I do the modern. Don't grab the center. The center will come to you. You just have to wait. The center gets played, whether you've taken those front squares or not. If you have the space to move your pieces, it's fine that you didn't move your pawns up in the first couple moves. So, sorry for my lack of enthusiasm in my voice and in my tone. I could have come out here kicking and screaming, and I sort of felt like I was going to do that, but I'm worn out. Chess is hard. Not messing up is hard. Chess is easy when you're okay with messing up. When it comes to test time, examinations, you can get those OWLs. You gotta really commit. And that's good exercise. And I'm tired. And I need to go home. So, first weekend tournament. I've never done a weekend tournament. I really wanted to win. And I did. So that's cool. Things are cool sometimes. Oh yeah, last thing that I was thinking about. It is so much easier to be losing mentally. I mean, obviously you don't like it, but like once you settle into the fact that you're playing a losing position, you get to just play and hope for something to turn out. When you're winning, when you have a spot, when you have that pressure to finish the job on something, as opposed to just, oh, let's just hope that something turns out right. When you're playing, there's no pressure when you're already losing. There's less pressure when you're already losing, because it's like, it is what it is. If you think you have a winning advantage and you need to find that thing that makes it win, just like poor Fabi, he was winning. But if you don't find that one resource, you're only winning because there's a move out there that continues to keep the pressure on just right. And that's pressure. Pressure to find stuff like that. Man. Woo! Chess. Okay, that's enough. Thanks. See you tomorrow maybe. Or whatever. I need to post these. I'm like 5 behind.